Alright, welcome to the Impact Zone, a surf show dedicated to surf forecasting and South Florida surfing and just all around surfing. We're going to quickly go through the weather maps here. I haven't done a video in a while, so I may be a little bit rusty at this, but we have a few things to talk about. There's not a whole lot in the short term that we may see some waves from, but the long term looks a little promising. So let's go through the weather maps here. First, let's look at the tropics and see what's going on. Let me get rid of my mug here. Let's see if I can do that. Dink. Okay, there we go. So first, I can't animate this right now, but if I could, there's a little upper level low here. If you're looking at the satellite loops, it's upper level though. It's not at the surface. So that's really not going to develop into anything. It's wrapped up with a little tropical wave up in here, and something to watch. Some of the models do want to spin it up maybe a little bit in the Bahamas, which would be decent for us in some aspects, and others maybe not. If the weak side of the storm is over here, then we don't get any fetch from it. But we'll have to see about that. Nothing really imminent to develop there right now at the moment. Let's go a little bit farther east, and all eyes were on this right here before. And it just got really gobbled up by all the dry air out there. Now, I want to remind you that if you have been looking at the models or reading my blog, you know, the GFS has spun this up into a huge hurricane every single run until now. Now this thing just poofed out, and it's nothing. All this dry air right here, look at all this dry air surrounding this thing, just gobbled it up. Bada boom, bada bing, done with that one. Now, the GFS is jumping on this next one to fire up. So I'm a little hesitant just because every single wave that comes off, the GFS wants to spin up into something. But let's look at some of the factors and not just rely on, let's look at the model. Some of the factors are, look at all this moisture all around it, right? So it's leaving Africa with a whole bunch of moisture trailing with it, like it's entourage, so to speak, where all the dry air is up here and going up here and like this. Not that I'm saying this won't affect it, it's just giving it a better chance because this is all the dry air, nothing going to develop in here. This is south of there, that has something that's going for it at least as it treks off towards the west at about 15 miles an hour or so. And we'll have to watch this the next couple of days. You know, we're approaching the peak of hurricane season, which is next week. So, again, this is the time of year where we really do start looking at all of these things. And at any time, anything can spark up, because at the peak, this is where we're supposed to have the most activity, and we have none out there right now. We also have another tropical wave out over Africa. So, or a monsoon type wave coming off of Africa in maybe 2 or 3 days. So things are getting loaded here. I think the tropics are definitely going to start to spark up in about maybe a week to 10 days or so. Let's look at the MJO here, and the MJO not super defined, but here's the forecast count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In 6 days we'll start to get into phase 1 or phase 8. That's the forecast here. Again, the stronger the MJO, the farther away from the center it gets, and you see it's not all that far from the center, almost undiscernible when it's inside the circle. So we're not saying that that is a huge influence at the moment, but we'll have to see how things pan out. It's a step, again, another step in the right direction, which would be into this phase here, phase 1, or even 2 and 3. Not bad either. So something to look at there. Other things going on. We'll get back to the tropics in a second. First, we're going to look at our near home things. And we had some little waves over the weekend. We had a little southeast wind swell. It was clean at times. So where was that coming from? Well, we get these winds right here in between Cuba and the Bahamas. And if they're pointed in just so the right direction like this, they produce a little wave, a little swell that makes it up into South Florida here. Now, not big. I mean, knee high, maybe thigh high at the best, but it did produce a little swell, a little south swell over the weekend. Just imagine, though. I know I say this a lot, but just imagine if these islands weren't here. I mean, this would be a decent little punchy probably waist to chest high, you know, barreling swell, a little fast, fun little swell if these islands weren't here. But I digress, because they're there and there's nothing we can do about it. We have a small little window that's right through here. We have a small little window through here, and then we have this as our swell window here. So it's not all that big, but there are some things that I'm watching here. So let's take a look. First, going into Monday and Tuesday, this is the GFS run, so believe it as you may. But you notice that this stays here with a pretty good direction for at least another day. So I suspect we'll have a little knee-high wave at the right tide, probably mid to low to mid, and maybe washed out at high tide. But we'll have that for Monday. Maybe even bump it up a little bit on Tuesday, because notice this kind of pushes a little bit. It dies, but it pushes a little closer to the state. So a little wind swell wave is all we're going to get for the next couple of days. Now, what I want to draw your attention to at the same time, let's unzoom this thing. Computer's real slow right now. Oops, now I did it too much. Well, Windows giving me an error. Let's go back. Alright, so what we're looking at off the coast is a little stalled out frontal boundary. Here it is right here. Here's the leftover bits of the little kind of tropical wave-ish feature that's been over us in South Florida, brought us rain and everything. It's now made it up into South and North Carolina. This is going to hook up with this frontal boundary here. Depending on where it maybe pushes off the coast or whether it goes a little bit close to the coast, some of the model runs want to keep it too close to give us any fetch. But keep your eyes on this right here. This is starting to set up a little bit of a fetch in our window. Sure it is. We got this right here. That's the 25 or so knots, maybe 30. And as we go through time here, we'll just quickly go through. I find it too time consuming to pre-save all these maps, so I like to do it on the fly instead. So you see, like, this spins up into a little low. This is very small fetch, though, very small. It's stronger, but it's just very small. And then this little low feature here does spin up into something, but that's not really pointed at us at the moment. But we do have maybe a day and a half where there's potential here, and that was the early part of this on Monday. So this area right here, this takes about 2 days. That's a 2-day frame, 2 to 3 days, I guess. This is about a day away right here. This is about 2 days. This is about 2 to 3 days up in this area. Okay. So say 2 to 3 days. So this is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So possibly late Wednesday, Thursday, we'll see a little north swell from this, maybe at the right tide. By the way, tides are going to be extra high and low this week thanks to, again, the supermoon that's coming. The supermoon rises on Monday at 7:15. So that'll cause extra high and extra low tides. But anyway, so maybe another little knee-high swell, possibly a little bit bigger. From that right there, and that's coming, like I said, about 2 days. This is Tuesday, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time frame. We'll see that try to scooch in here. So let's just fast forward here, if I can, to Thursday. Local winds, they look good. They go calm. So if we do get something, it'll be glassy in the morning, and then onshore sea breeze in the afternoon. And then this all kind of scooches out to sea. But what happens after that, now this is Saturday, so this is almost a week away. We have another little front right here that does produce a really good fetch, and it's a really good direction pointed at us. So that's promising. Again, you can't really take this for gold, though. I mean, we're talking a week out now, but wait till you see a little bit later what the tease we're going to get here. But this just shows promise, because I've been watching this and it's kind of been back and forth, but it showed something out here at some point. So that's promising. And look, it stays out there Saturday, Sunday, you know, and then it goes away after that. And then we have this right here. So this is 91L. This is what I showed you just off the coast of Africa. And the GFS wants to blow it up into a huge hurricane out here. And then this model run, I mean, it's looking like really, really good. Because look at what happens now. So this is going to send swell, of course, not to us in South Florida, but it'll send it to Central Florida. Right there. But then look at what happens. At the same time, we have this coming off and a new fetch starting out of the northeast. And that's like a nice little whammy right there, a little double whammy for us. Because look at what it spawns up. So we get this nor'easter like low out here, right? We have a hurricane out here, right? So this would send swell. This would be unbelievable sending swell. So this is kind of a dream sequence here because it's not looking like it's going, I mean, I guess it's possible because it's on the model, but again, you can't look at the models this far out and expect anything terribly accurate. What we look for is consistencies and trends of what's going on. And what I'm seeing in the trend is that it keeps trying to show something hanging on off the coast. And I don't have time to show you all the other stuff, but there is some pressure anomalies around here that are lower. So that's maybe signifying that the models may be on to something right there. We'll have to see. So let's back it up and let's talk tropics then. And we'll go out to sea and look at 91L here. And, you know, I've been watching this, and honestly, it's been so different every model run, what's going on. So you can't really trust anything quite yet, nor can you even trust the fact that this is going to develop into something. Because for the longest time, before this, the other one was developing, and now it's absolutely nothing. So just something to watch, though. A possibility will be there, and this run takes it up towards Bermuda and then kind of up into Nova Scotia here, which would be that would be ideal. It really would, because we would get a shot of the east-southeast for up coast, and then we'd get a shot of northeast down here in South Florida afterwards when it combines with the frontal boundary, and there's some, you know, we call it baroclinic forcing here, where the tropical system kind of gets enhanced a little bit or merges with the cold core system that's going to be off the coast at that time. Well, it wouldn't be that front right there. It'd be the next one. But anyways, that's definitely a possibility here going through time. But again, it's so far out, we can't really look at that. In fact, check this out. To check our work, we're going to go to the European model and see what's going on at the same exact time period. Look at that. What a difference. So it's basically just showing kind of an open wave. This isn't even a storm. That's an open wave right there. And the GFS is showing a hurricane. So a huge difference right there between the two. With just a little open wave is all. And another feature that you're seeing, which let's back this up, and you're seeing that initial little wave that I was talking about that's kind of over Puerto Rico, Dominican right now. I want you to watch right here. The European does spin that up into a little low. This computer's not liking this today. I don't even have that many windows open. Any windows open. So check it out. Really slow. So it does spin something up here. You see it? and then brings it northward and then merges it with that front. So right here, there's a little bit of something, not the strongest of storms at all, you know. All right, backed it up. There it is right here in the Bahamas. This may give a little punch our way, a little brief punch our way. The interesting thing is, so this is the European has that. The GFS has none of this at all. And then we go to the NAM, which isn't the best of models. But the NAM shows that same thing, that same feature, 2.5 days earlier than the European does. So I think what they're doing is they're sniffing out something going to go on in here. They're kind of sniffing out possibility of something going on in the Bahamas here, a homegrown activity in the next, say, week or so. And then also look at the NAM has very weak wave right here too, and then another one back here, that one that's still over Africa that I showed you. So a couple of waves, not real strong, and then possibly a closed system right there in the future. But the fact is that things are going to start to get active now. Whether these develop or not, they're there. There's something to talk about, unlike we're really seeing hardly anything. The past 4 days, there hasn't been a thing out there. So just something to talk about right there. And we'll have to see how it all pans out. I'll be on top of it, of course, as always, and I'll try to update the video on Wednesday is my next time to do this. I'm going to check the surf tomorrow. I'm off Mondays and Tuesdays, so I'll check for that little southeast swell on my new little fish. I love to ride in that type of wave, so hopefully we'll get something here. And I'm still thinking, too, that the winter is going to be epic. It may start off slow with a lot of wind chop, but it's going to end up January, February, cold, big swells, lots of ground swells, and hopefully that holds true. El Nino winters usually do that for us and usually are pretty good. So if we can combine an El Nino with a negative NAO all winter long, we are golden, and I'm hoping that's what's going to line up to happen here. All right, so that's it for me here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Until next time, peace.